Hotepo gatekeepers and our allies. This is His Royal Majesty King Ra Sumaba Ifagbemi, the world's first openly African black gay king. And the role of a king is to protect and nourish his people. And today I do so by posing to you the question, why should you care about astrology? First of all, let's recall it is the oldest living science of humanity. It goes back to remote antiquity and it lives still. There must be something to this. And the answer is from the Kemetic understanding and approach to astrology. Astrology is the super science, the science of sciences. It's how you can know all things, and all things can be shown through astrology. Here you see the Kemetic versions of the 12 signs, starting here with number 1, Aries, the ram, all the way down to 12, the Pisces, fish. What is this? This is the science of psychology. Its ultimate use for humans is to teach you how to become psychologically healthy, how to be emotionally healthy, mentally well. Since we are mental creatures, our mental states, our psychological states are key to our happiness and success on earth. So each of these signs encode a science of your mind, a science of your psychology. The ram is the science of self-defense, not the philosophy of self-defense, not the feeling of self-defense. It is the science of self-defense. One can go to a school, a dojo, go to a boxing ring and express the science of boxing, the science of self-defense. It's also the science of survival and the science of thriving. So the ram asks you, do you know the science of self-defense? If you were cornered, could you defend yourself? How well are you surviving? Do you have a home? Do you have security? Do you have a place to stay? Do you have health care? How well are you surviving? If you're answering not so well or so-so, that simply means this part of your subconscious mind, your psychology, has not yet been scientifically developed. The bull is family and finance, the science of family life and the science of finance. So, how is your family life? Is it healthy? Is it strong? Is it taxing? Is it scary? Is it non-existent? This indicates the level of psychological development you have in that area. Do you have money, savings, investments? Do you know how to budget? Do you know how to save, how to invest? There's a science to investment. There's a science to budgeting. There's a science to having income. You've got to get up, go to work, do a job. There's a science to it. Do you know that? So if you are broke or struggling or you have no real family life, don't take it personally. It's not your fault. It's because you have not been certified, trained in the science of family and finance. People think family is some kind of emotional thing. That may be true for the West, but for most cultures of color, there are very clear scientific patterns to how family should run. It's not at all random or winging it. Number 3, the twins of Gemini is the science of communication and the science of learning. If you have a hard time communicating or you don't learn very well, don't blame yourself. Blame the culture that did not train you in the secrets of this psychology table. Cancer, the beetle, is the science of nurturing and being nurtured. It's the science of listening. There's a science to it. There are rules to it. It's not random. There's a way to listen where people are grateful and want to share more because of the way you're listening. People go to school to learn how to communicate, like in the twins of Gemini. How to be an effective communicator. How do you nourish people? There's a science to nurturing people. a way you should speak to them, tones you should have, how you should listen to them. It can be trained and taught. Leo, the lion, is the science of independence, the science of self mastery. You're independent of what? Independent of your bad habits. Leo means I am free of my bad habits. I am master of myself. It's the science of the arts, being creative. Many people are very artistic, very talented, but they don't practice, they don't study, they don't train. Well, the science of any art craft being perfected requires training, coaching, an outside voice giving you feedback, what's called a feedback loop. Six, wheat, the wheat of Virgo, is the science of health. There's a science to health. You have to exercise and eat a certain way. There's also the science of food. You have to do yoga, stretch. You can't just lift weights any old way. There's a science doing it. People go to school to learn this. The scales of Libra is the science of relationships. There's a way to relate to each other. And there's a way not to relate that's rude and disrespectful. And there's a way that's kind and sensitive and caring. The Scorpion is the science of voodoo, of the magical arts. Yes, there is a science to this. There's a science to psychic abilities, to occult powers, and to using these powers to overcome your issues, to having breakthroughs. Sagittarius, the archer here, he's a lion's face in Kemet, a lion's face in the back and a man's face in the front. This is the science of hope. This is the science of meaning. There's a way to relate to things that keeps you hopeful about it. There's a way of finding out the lesson of an experience that keeps you hopeful for learning and gives the true meaning of what you're going through. Now, again, perhaps in the West, because they lack this mathematic table of the subconscious mind and its scientific needs, but to many other cultures, the meaning of a moment, the meaning of an event can be found out through scientific methods. The goatfish of Capricorn is the science of success and career. There is a technique to becoming successful. There is a methodology. It's not random. Hapi, the water bearer, is the science of community, how to build them, how to interact with them, how to support them, how to have humanitarian nature and contribute to your tribe, to your community. And the fact that we all need community. The science of the human being needs a communal feedback experience. And finally, the fish of Pisces is the science of peace, the science of giving yourself to a cause greater than yourself, the science of perspective. Now, the worst thing ever done is rarely talked about in spiritual circles, that the Dark Ages, the so-called Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, how did that affect Africa? How did the Dark Age affect African spirituality? The main thing it did was it converted what we call the Neteru into gods. The Kamau never had gods. This is a very controversial statement and a very important one to make. We had sciences. And we approached them not as these beings you plead with to give you this and give you that and to grant wishes like a genie in a bottle, but to science as you study, you practice, you apply in a lab, you keep practicing, you improve, you research until you get the results. But the West has no science of psychology, no science of the subconscious mind. So to them, psychology is a soft science. To us, it's a hard science. And we can go into great depth to show how each of these categories of your life, how each one is scientific. So the Neteru means the sciences, the sciences, the sciences of love, of money, of health. And if you follow science, you can get results, produce results, and then reproduce them with those you love after you. Long live the sciences of Kemet, the sciences in the stars within you. Dwawin Hotepu.